Good morning, early game crew. Now you hear that music. Today's a good day, but it's not a good day. Finally coming on in here at the JW Marriott at SEC Media Days in beautiful Tampa, Florida. I'm Elijah, live here at SEC Media Days, day 2, South Carolina Day, mind you. Our very own Preston Thorne back at the studios in Columbia, South Carolina with Jen Jensen, and looks like Preston Thorne's got that on. He's got the baseball jersey on. That is fresh. That looks like you just got it out of the packaging, Preston Thorne.
Well, if you look at it, this is a vintage Under Armour Carolina baseball jersey. I am rocking vintage. So I am definitely in with cool kids now because I am wearing vintage. Thank you very much.
It counts as a throwback.
I'm wearing
Like, that's a throwback
I'm
jersey.
wearing a throwback Carolina jersey. Trying to be maybe become Jersey guy. Is that another guy that you could be?
Jersey guy's a thing. I've got some friends that are Jersey guys. I'm
Mhm.
not really Jersey guy, but I do like to occasionally rock one. I have to pick and choose my
Pick
spots
and
here,
choose your
right?
spots.
I'm not a volume shooter, and when it comes to jerseys, and I usually have to pick something that if I buy one, Preston Thorne, it's
Mhm.
gonna be one that you can't find anywhere else.
For
I've
sure.
got a very small selection of jerseys that I own. Like, for instance, I have an Artist Gilmore Jacksonville jersey,
Okay.
right?
All right.
It's gonna be one that's gonna strike up a conversation if I'm feeling super social.
Works. It works. It works. I definitely understand it. Yes, Jersey guy is possibly a person also, along with Chain Guy from yesterday, which we found out Elijah was Chain Guy. And I have to bring this back. The surprise of the day yesterday, which we did not get to speak about. Jen Stills flabbergasted.
Bow
Uh,
tie guy.
Elijah's bow tie guy.
I'm bow tie guy. Yeah. Well, because none of you guys have seen me wear a tie. That's the crazy thing. I mean, I don't think any of you guys have ever been in a situation to see me actually having a tie on. You're lucky if I wear anything other than a t-shirt in the studio sometimes.
But then to find out not only are you bow tie guy, but you're tie your own bow tie guy.
See, if you're gonna be bow tie guy, you have to be real
Correct.
bow tie guy. You can't consider yourself bow tie guy if you're just wearing the clip-on.
Mhm.
That's cheating. That's an easy way out. And I think I established being bow tie guy more because I could just tie that a lot easier than I could a necktie. Don't ask me how or why.
That's the development because it seems arduous. But
It's super easy. It's
I
like
got
tying a shoe, but
uh,
around your neck. You know, not bad at all. And you know what? A lot of my bow ties are reversible. So one of them actually is like having two of them.
nice. Nice. Uh, were there any bow ties in the building yesterday from folks that were walking around media days?
Usually officials with the conference.
Mhm.
I saw like two or three. It's not many. I would say, the percentage of bow tie users here probably below the 15% mark.
I'm,
But
I might make an argument that the Southeastern Conference is losing its Southeast if we don't see many bow ties.
yeah, maybe a little bit of corporatization, a little
Mhm.
over corporatization
We're
of our
losing,
great Southern League.
we're losing our fastball. I don't like it.
Losing fastball, losing recipes, as the
Hmm
kids would call it. Maybe
hmm
we're losing a little bit of that here in the Southeastern Conference. Maybe it's the whole Texas Oklahoma thing. Adding them has kind of taken us out of our Southeastern footprint a little bit. Maybe it's reflected a little bit too much, but I'll be on the lookout. I'll have to do a little better job of actually keeping up with the bow ties. But I don't think Shane's going to be wearing a bow tie today. We're going to find out what he's wearing
hmm
because he's going to be up on the podium. He's going to be doing his media availability for the local folks here in Tampa. It is South Carolina Day. South Carolina, one of four teams that is going to be partaking today. Vanderbilt being another one of them, Georgia, Auburn, but most importantly for us, South Carolina. As you can see right behind me, I'm sitting right by the South Carolina column here at SEC Media Days. We were very appropriately put. But now that it's here and the Gamecocks are going to be speaking, Shane Beamer's going to speak. He's bringing along Lenore Sellers. He's bringing along Nick Harbor. He's also bringing along Peyton Williams. Preston Thorne, the thing you're most excited to hear about today.
I don't know if it's a particular thing. I think I'm looking for a vibe that I'm looking to see from everybody involved, and that vibe is going to be confidence. I want to see how confident they are in themselves, how confident they are in the program, how confident they are in the season moving forward. So I don't know if it's a specific one thing that I need to hear, but it is going to be more of a vibe that I can feel from the folks that are talking. Nick obviously never lacks that, but
Yeah.
I like to see where Lenoris falls on that category. Haven't heard from Peyton very much. We know of Peyton. I think I got a beat on who he is, but I'd like to hear and see what they have to say.
Yeah, I would say I'm really curious to hear what Peyton Williams has to say too. Mostly because we don't talk to him a ton during the season. Like Lenore Sellers, obviously, as the quarterback, you're going to be facing the media a lot more than maybe your peers on the team.
Mhm.
But Peyton Williams is an interesting player this year because he's next man upping it in that secondary. I think he's taking that DQ Smith role as kind of the brain trust on the back end of that defense. Been in the program long enough. He's been coached by Torrey Gray and Clayton White long enough. I think he's got a lot of good talent. I think he had to play earlier in his career, whether it be somebody getting hurt or whatever, having to take a play off, whatever. He's come in and played really well, and now his role is going to expand a lot more this year. And that's a guy who, like, of course, last year, he was a full-time starter too, but now it's even more so as a leader. He's a guy too that I referenced the play against LSU several times this offseason because it was one of my favorite plays in a 4-8 season, where he identifies a play at the snap. He's able to jump a route in the end zone and get a massive interception for South Carolina. One of the many plays defensively they made in that game to give them a chance to win that game. I just like to hear more from Pick his brain about that defense, right? I think that's one thing that I'm really excited to hear. And when it comes to Lenoris and Nick Harbor, what's the Kendall Briles effect look like to them? I think that's one thing that a lot of Gamecock fans are interested in hearing and interested in seeing what their vibe is going forward in terms of how excited they feel to get to play an entire season with a new offense. They played under several different offenses for Lenoris. Third different offensive coordinator in 3 years. He has plenty of sample size to compare and contrast from.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I want to hear from Nick and Lenoris maybe the pluses. They don't need to go back and revisit the past. That's my job. They don't need to do that. But I would like to hear from them maybe some of the new things that they're excited about the new offense. I imagine you'll hear concepts like tempo and maybe some of the play calling schemes, but I want to hear it from them to hear what they're excited about as we go into the new year.
Yeah, I certainly would too. And I'm looking forward to that. When it comes to Shane too, I think what you mentioned, we talked about it a little bit last week when we were starting to take a peek into media days. But is he as loose as he was a couple of years ago, and it probably felt like they had nothing to lose? He knew what he had in that room, and he knew that nobody was going to pick him to be, top 10 in the league or anything. It did feel like he had less to lose in that moment right there too, or in that entire offseason. This year, not so much. I mean, you look at everybody's hot seat board, I should say. You're going to find Shane Beamer at number 1 in the SEC, and
really?
I think that's the nature of also having a league with 4 different new head coaches. The other mainstays are the ones who've done a lot of winning, right? I think Eli Drinkwitz is like the second oldest coach in this league.
Which, by the way, Brent Venables is the oldest coach, and he's 55, and that hit me in a way that I did not expect it to, because, 55, Lord willing, is within an earshot, and I still think of SEC coaches like Philip Fulmer. So,
oh yeah.
So when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh.
When I heard that yesterday, sitting in the ballroom right across, from where I'm sitting right now, I was like, wait, no, he's not. Because some of those things that the reporter tells you something in the question and then asks the question.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned that, so you're the oldest coach in the SEC, and I was like, no, he's not. There's no way.
Okay.
And then I start thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, he is.
Yeah.
Which is strange. I mean, and that's kind of like where SEC coaches are now. It's a young man's game in terms of having to handle all that the job entails now with transfer portal recruiting and NIL budgeting and things of that nature. You are now coach and GM at the same time for a lot of them, right? And so some do kind of delegate a lot of those responsibilities to, like, your director of personnel or whatever title it is you give somebody, whoever your Darren Usher is, right? You give some of that responsibility to. But if you look at any of the hot seat boards, Shane Beamer's going to be at the top of it because you're coming off of a 4-8 season and a year in which you were this time last year talked about as being one of the 6 best teams or 5 best teams in the SEC. You're picked to be top 15 in the country, right? By week 2, you found yourself in the top 10 nationally, and you end up 4-8. I think that's just kind of the natural order of things in the SEC, is that if you have that type of year with expectations and you fail that badly, right, especially with a couple losses that you had, I think that's naturally going to be a part of the discourse, right? That even in a year in which there are this many new coaches, right? Everybody that was considered on the hot seat last year in the SEC is out. So you have, 4 different head coaches in this league. It's a lot of people have a lot more leeway than you do. I think that's something that I'm looking for today, is to see how he handles that, because he's going to get those type of questions, especially more so in the press conference where you get everybody's assembled media here in Tampa. How he handles that, I think, is going to be an interesting part of this entire equation.
Well, it's a question that should be asked, and you're right. We'll see how he handles it. But as I said, I'm just looking forward to seeing the disposition that he has coming into these conversations. Because last year, maybe we should have took a hint, because for all of the preseason polls, for all of the accolades that they were getting, it didn't feel that way from Shane. It was very much like, hey, slow down a little bit. And I don't know whether that was by design or whether he was trying to be humble or whether he just actually knew what challenges that his roster had. But it doesn't matter. Shane is at his best when he's loose, when he's having fun, when he's making the videos, when he's taking pictures, when he's doing something that maybe irritates other fan bases. He's not going to be at his best. It's not going to make him keep his job if he just sticks to the company line. That's not who Shane is. That's not when he's at his best. So I want to see more. I want that old Shane back. Give me some of that old Shane that would make us as fans like him and make other fans annoyed.
Shane Swagger.
Exactly.
And that's what makes him, though, right? Like, that's one thing, about whether it's coaches, players, whoever it is, however you carry yourself on or off the football field. My whole thing is, and this is pretty blanket across the board, whatever makes you, like, be that, right? Well, what's one of the reasons why, people are eye rolling about Tom Brady's recent offseason? Is because it seems so inauthentic and fake, which is maybe a lot of things about Tom Brady.
Which is probably the most Tom Brady thing, because who is he? We don't know who he is.
Right, and that's a problem too in terms of his public perception. But in terms of anybody else, I think, like Dan Campbell, for example, if we were to put it in a football sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? When they lost that NFC Championship game and they were going for it on 4th down a lot, I'm like, people can criticize that, sure, but that's who you are, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's you are playing to what has got you here and what made you you. And if you're Shane Beamer, whatever you are in front of a microphone, or even when it comes to coaching on the football field, whatever makes you you, you have to be, right? If you're going to go down swinging in the way that you would, right? Or else you will live with that regret forever.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Dan Campbell. The first thing we think of, he's biting kneecaps. We're gonna bite your kneecaps, and he's coached that way the whole time. Detroit fans love it. Other fans make fun of it, but it's fine. It doesn't matter, because he's being who he was supposed to be.
And I think that authenticity can be appreciated by anybody. One authentic thing about our show, though, is that every Tuesday at this time, we put on the Garnet glasses. And you know what? After evaluating the roster and picking holes at everybody, I can put on my Garnet glasses and I will give you a roadmap to an incredibly successful South Carolina season just by looking at other people's rosters. So we'll put on the Garnet glasses coming up next here at SEC Media Days, Day 2. This is the early game.
Mom and Dad just gave us permission to give away free HVAC systems, and I have this crazy idea.
Hi, I'm Roy.
I'm Joey.
And I'm Jason. You heard us right. We're giving away multiple free units. If you believe you have the oldest HVAC system in the Midlands,
Scan the QR code or visit the website below.
Do you see this room? During the week, it's the place that keeps me calm. I'm usually on the go Monday through Friday, and by the time I get home, I need a place to relax. But on weekends, instead of my sunroom, I just call it my son's room. A lot of love goes in an Architect sunroom. Call Architect of Central South Carolina today and schedule a free consultation with one of our personal design consultants.
At Atkins Law, we help injured workers and their families. People always ask, what sets us apart? We're local and we focus on customer service. If you've been hurt on the job, call us, because who you hire matters.
Chip from Palmetto Citizens. I help people safeguard their futures with retirement accounts. I'm also our head of going the extra mile. They say when your job's your passion, you never work a day in your life. Have a great day.
SEC Media Days, sponsored in part by Wesco Brew and Bowl in West Columbia, in the heart of Casey. Bowling lanes, arcade games, also a full-service restaurant and 2 bars. Open Sunday through Thursday till 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday till midnight.
I-26 westbound at Old Sandy Run Road, that's also known as exit 125, an accident there. It's looking really good so far this morning, and another warm one, 96 high today. Saying some clouds today and tomorrow, 96, 95 today and tomorrow, maybe heat index again exceeding 100. And then we have a cool thing on Thursday, but we will have some thunderstorm activity for several days. But will be 80. So Thursday and Friday, looking high 8 degrees. Right now, though, it is 6.
It is day 2 at SEC Media Days. Most importantly, it is South Carolina Day at SEC Media Days. Yes, I know Georgia's talking. I know Auburn's talking. I know Clark Lee and Vanderbilt will be here too. But what really matters to South Carolina Gamecocks, to us in our hearts, which means today is the most garnet glasses of garnet glasses segment we could have, or at least it would be if I wasn't such a fraud and forgot to bring mine to Tampa.
Oh no!
Yeah, so we're going to have to do a little make-believe here on the YouTube stream. You're watching me right now. You can pretend I have some garnet glasses on. I am sitting right in front of the South Carolina logo here on this pillar, sitting to my right. Yeah, we're going to have to pretend that I'm putting them on. Preston Thor can actually put his on.
I have mine on.
He's got his on, but I want to pretend to put mine on, play make-believe land for a second. And you know what I see, Preston Thorne? A schedule game. And I don't know if you're ready for this.
Listening.
Because this is the ultimate talk yourself into a football season, because that's what the Garnet Glasses segment is for. Kent State and Towson, whatever. How many people can point out where they are on a map, right? Doesn't matter. Game 3, you have Mississippi State. Obviously, you should beat Mississippi State, right? They've been the cellar dwellers. They've been in Weenie Hut Juniors here in this conference for the last couple of years. I don't expect that to change overnight. Then you get Alabama, right? Then you get the first really big, massive test on the schedule. And guess what you've done the last couple of years, Preston Ford? You played Alabama push them. Yeah, you pushed them to the brink, right? You gave them all they could handle. Third time's got to be the charm, right? That's the saying. Third time is the charm.
Yep.
And you go 2 Tuscaloosa this year. No one's afraid of Alabama anymore. Nobody's afraid of that crimson helmet anymore. And guess what? They have a freshman quarterback too. And if you look at Alabama's schedule, redshirt freshman quarterback has got East Carolina to start his season, go at Kentucky and the dozens of people that are going to be there, Florida State at home with whatever roster it is that they have, and then South Carolina, right? This is going to be the best defense he faces in the first part of the year. So there you go. There's your angle there. Kentucky is Kentucky, whatever. I love Will Stein's confidence. At some point this week, we'll get to that clip. We have just so many clips to get to.
Yes.
Hard time finding it, squeezing it in. But you will hear from that eventually, at least at some point today. Love the confidence. You'll beat Kentucky. You've done it the last few years. Why should that change right now? At Florida, who knows if Aaron Philo is any good? I like some of the pieces they have, but guess what? It's going to take them a while to get acclimated, right? And you get them October 10th. They're probably not going to be the best version of themselves. You have a really good chance there. Tennessee at home, true freshman quarterback. And if you look at Tennessee's schedule, now Josh Heupel hadn't said that Faison Brandon's going to be the starting quarterback, but I think you can assume that he's going to be. That will be his 3rd career road game. His other 2 are at Georgia Tech and at Arkansas. You think Willie B is going to be a little more intimidating of a place to play than Georgia Tech and Arkansas?
I do.
I think so too. Then you go at Oklahoma, right? Another one of those big games against the CFP team. Oklahoma, I'm not convinced about their offense. You know what John Mateer said yesterday in his little gaggle? I tried to get the audio of it, but it didn't sound really good because there's so many people there. He's been watching a lot of Terry Bradshaw film.
Did he say, yippee?
Yippee! Woohoo! Oh, it's exciting. I was like, that's all I could hear. It's like the teacher from Peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
He said, watch a lot of Terry Bradshaw film. But you know what that means?
Wait. He said he watched a lot of Terry Bradshaw film.
Uh-huh.
As a broadcaster, or how to be one of the greatest broadcasters ever? Definitely not as a quarterback.
Oh, he said as a quarterback.
Why?
He said, well, because he didn't have like a perfect career, but he's a winner.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
But you know what he had too? He had Franco Harris and he had Lynn Swann and a defense that's one of the greatest in the history of the NFL. I don't think you have that at Oklahoma, buddy. Turnover-prone quarterback, questionable offensive line. You can go to Norman, Oklahoma and wreak havoc. Texas A&M, I remember the last time they came here. To Willie B.
Beat them down.
Absolutely clubbed to death in the second half of that game. Arkansas Reed, same quarterback. They're not as great in the line of scrimmage. Again, your defensive front's really good. You can give them a lot of trouble. Arkansas, LOL. Don't have to get into that. Georgia, I'm sorry, I don't have much there. I don't have much with Georgia.
You know why? You know why you don't have much? Is because you don't actually have your garnet glasses on. Because if you actually had your garnet glasses on, you could find something. You could find
That's true. That's true.
It's tough.
You know, even with my imaginary garnet glasses on, maybe you know what I see, Preston Thorne? I believe in magic
There you go.
in a young girl's heart and on a football field. I believe in both of those things, right? So maybe so you catch them slipping right there too.
Mhm.
And then at Clemson too, Clemson's got so many question marks across their football team. How's Christopher Vizina going to be as a full-time starter in college football at the Power 4 level? Nobody really knows. And you have to replace so much production on the offensive and defensive line. Even if they were not productive last year, they were NFL level talented because they got drafted by NFL teams.
Mhm.
So Preston Thorne, you can poke holes all across the schedule.
I
Garnet glasses on.
I like what you did there, and there was only a couple of them where I even were to start to deny you, but a couple of the ones that I'm looking at, I still don't know why everybody is so high up on Florida. I think it's a little bit of they think that Florida is who we thought they were, and they're very high on Summerall. We'll see how that goes. Oklahoma was to me the weakest team in the CFP. We'll see how that works out. As you said, Arkansas. That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see how's out. Clemson, hey man, I don't like crying and denying Dabo. I'm not here for that. And I would position the same thing for Dabo as I was for Shane. Go back to who you were. This crying and denying and defending and trying to tell us who you were. That's not what made Dabo great. What made Dabo great was when he would tell people, "Hey, we're gonna be great, and just watch and see." Now it's a little, it's bordering on cringe when he does it now. Don't really like.
It's tired.
Yeah, it's the same act. There it is. It's the same act.
And I don't even think it landed that much the first time. It's like telling a bad joke and then repeating to tell the bad joke over and over again, thinking maybe if I say it this time, maybe the 10th time, it's going to be really funny. But it's not.
Right.
It absolutely isn't. So based off the schedule I just reeled off right there, would that make you feel better, Preston Thorne, about this season?
It did. It gave me some insight into who I think are definitely the gettable games, but it does not change my opinion that Mississippi State is the biggest game in Shane Beamer's life.
Still gonna be. That one's an absolutely massive game. And again, one that you should still get, right? I mean, sitting through Mississippi State's roster, I'm not blown away by a lot of the pieces there. I think Kamario Taylor is interesting, but an interesting quarterback shouldn't come to your house and beat you, especially with a less impressive, complete roster in South Carolina. That's the Garnet Glasses segment, getting super optimistic this morning, poking holes in people's schedule. But who else is talking today at SEC Media Days? Auburn and Georgia go first. What are the biggest headlines around them? Well, we'll discuss Auburn and Georgia coming up next year on the Early
Pressing here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance to take away the headache. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you. They will take care of the job for you. Now, at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, Absolute Glass can take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at absoluteglassinc.com. That's online at absoluteglassinc.com.
Garner's Ferry Road at Blue Johnson Road, an accident reported there. 96 and 95, the high for today and tomorrow, a mix of clouds and sun. And by Thursday, the weather changes. We're expecting thunderstorms for several days and only around 80. So definitely a cool down as the rain comes in starting Thursday. Right now, though, 76.
Yes, it is South Carolina Day here, day 2 of SEC Media Days, but Georgia and Auburn are going to kick off the festivities earlier this morning. Later. Early this morning. Whatever. Time's not even real. But when it comes to Georgia and Auburn, Preston Thorne, I think these are two programs in completely different places. Georgia is running the league. They won the championship the last 2 years. They should have won it in 2023, too, if Carson Beck doesn't fumble a ball deep into their own territory against Alabama. They've been the best program in this conference, really this decade, right? And the thing with Georgia last year was they won the league despite maybe having one of their more flawed rosters in the last little bit. It certainly feels like they have this aura of inevitability with them. No matter how you might project them or how you might pick them going into a year, they do kind of have that level of inevitability that ultimately, when a game is really close, they're going to find a way to win it, no matter what the holes in the roster or on the team actually are.
And that's a very strong point. And the reason why I think I respect Kirby is because he doesn't deny that. He doesn't come in there saying, "Oh, I don't know how we're going to get it done. Woe is the Bulldogs." He usually comes in and says, "Hey, we're going to be good, but we have a level that we haven't reached yet." Or he tries to talk about maybe a few of the missing pieces that they have in the roster. So that's what keeps Georgia interesting to me is that Kirby accepts the idea that they are at the top of the league.
Oh, for sure. And he's like pretty upfront and honest about some of the issues too. I mean, last year, at this time last year, we were in Atlanta for SEC Media Days. He was talking about like this is one of the youngest teams he'd ever had. He was, like 60% of the roster is first or second year guys. And he's like, that's one of the highest percentage of first or second year guys I've ever had. And you could tell early on in the season, right? They had some defensive things they had to work through, especially in the secondary, where Tennessee picked them apart. Tennessee should have beaten them in Knoxville, but Georgia hung on, made enough plays in that game to be able to win it. This year, I think he's going to be looking a lot about that pass rush. He's going to answer a lot of questions about their very low sack total or low sack totals in a long time. They were not elite at getting to the quarterback and causing a lot of havoc that way. And we did our turnover margin study last week. We discovered that Georgia had a turnover margin of 0, right? They committed as many turnovers as they forced on their opponents. That doesn't seem very Georgia-esque, but for somehow, Preston, they still figure it out. I think that's kind of like the Kirby Smart effect is even in a year where you don't do some of the things that make you still are able to win games and still able to run one of the hardest leagues in America.
Well, there's a couple things about that. One, the first thing is that if Kirby and crew are working with first and second year players, they're probably a little bit different than everybody else's first and second year players, right? They're probably just a little bit different. Now, what's scary about that for the rest of the league is that those dudes stay around. Now they've been in the system. They take the talent that they have, plus you add the development. It will be better this year on defense for sure. Because if anything, Kirby will make the defense better, right? That's his thing.
100%. Yeah,
So
that's his baby.
that's his baby. So that will be. I'm sure that kept him up plenty of nights because that's not what he wants his team known for.
Now, that will be just fine. But when it comes to their offense too, they don't have maybe the same playmakers last year on the perimeter. Like Zachariah Branch is a perfect player for Mike Bobo's offense. Throw a tunnel screen and let Branch get all the yards after catch he could possibly get. I really like Gunnar Stockton. I think he's a great rule follower of the offense. He's also in that category of I don't know how good of a quarterback this guy is, but I do know he's a dog. And you know what? I'd maybe trust him on fourth down with a game on the line as much as I would anybody else in the SEC, even some that you would consider more talented or have higher upsides.
We're gonna nominate him for, and I'm blanking on his name. What was the quarterback from Georgia Tech last year?
Oh, Haynes King.
We're gonna nominate Gunnar for the Haynes King Award this year. This is gonna be a rolling award for the quarterback who's the most dog out of everybody. And so he is the front runner for the Haynes King Award this year.
Oh, I love it. And it's incredibly true too. I mean, if you look at like third and fourth down numbers, he's one of the best in America, right? Like maybe one more reliable quarterbacks. I think is a really fair way of putting it. I know there are plenty of quarterbacks in the SEC that I think have maybe more upside, right? And at their best, maybe a little more talented, maybe able to do more in the statistical categories. But do you trust them more than you would Gunnar Stockton? I don't know, man. Or that running game, because that's the thing. I think this Georgia team is going to be a ground and pound team, which means this is right down Mike Bobo's alley. They've got a running back room full of dudes. They have an offensive line full of run blockers and maulers. It is going to be a little bit of a throwback style look for this Georgia team.
When Mike Bobo runs that first toss sweep into the boundary, you know the season is here.
And then people start complaining about it on Georgia Best.
you know we're back, baby.
And they're going to complain about that offense despite winning 11 games during the season. And there will be a lot of tears from a yacht in that standpoint. Auburn, on the other hand, completely different scenario, right? They made the hire of Hugh Freeze. They sold their soul to hire Hugh Freeze, and it backfired in an embarrassing fashion, I would say. That was a miserable tenure that Hugh Freeze had as the head coach at Auburn. And now they hire Alex Golesh. And I think that's probably amongst national pundits maybe split on that hire. I like Alex Golesh, but I think this year, at least in his first year, this team is going to be an interesting experiment to see how well you can just carbon copy an offense from the American Conference into the SEC. They did play an SEC game last year at South Florida, and they beat Florida in the swamp, right? And a lot of the players that are going to be wearing an Auburn uniform that are coming over from here in Tampa are going to be on that offense. It's like 3 offensive linemen, quarterback Byron Brown. A majority of the receivers on the team are going to be transplants from South Florida. I'm intrigued by them. Do I think they're going to be really good? Not really good. I think they'll probably be better than last year because I at least of anything that I can buy into on that football team, Preston Thorne, I can buy into Byron Brown.
Sport talk. You ready?
Sport talk alert.
Who will be the better first-year coach, John Summerall or Alex Golesh?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's good. I think Summerall.
Okay.
I think his overall team is better. Now, if we're just doing the coach quarterback game and you want to do a wash between Golesh and Summerall, if you think they're about the same caliber of coach and you just want to do quarterback comparisons, Auburn's going to win that, right? Out of all the first-year head coaches in the SEC, Lane Kiffin included, Auburn's got the best quarterback in that bunch.
Really? Interesting.
I think Byron Brown is better than Sam Levitt.
Like it.
I would definitely take Byron, especially in the college game too. I would take Byron Brown over Sam Levitt. Great running threat too. More consistent. I think that's the thing with Sam Levitt. He's not very consistent. Mm-hmm. He had 2 different years of Sam Levitt. I think what you got from Byron Brown is a guy who's got the measurables, strong arm, is able to run the ball incredibly well, plays in a very quarterback-friendly offense. Auburn for the quarterback position is pretty good. Now, can the South Florida run blockers, on the line of scrimmage, can they carry over what they did at South Florida to Auburn? Hard to tell, right? Because the opposing defensive lines they're going to face aren't going to have the size, speed, agility that they do in the SEC. So it's hard to look at what they did at South Florida and then just easily project it for this year. But if they run block the way they did at South Florida with the effectiveness that they did, Auburn will be able to run the ball too. It actually will be a fun offense to watch. But I just don't know if an offensive line built through and mostly from South Florida is going to be able to have the same effect on this Auburn team than they were able to at South Florida. Completely different game. And I think that's what makes them just a fascinating college football experiment on. But coming up next, though, a lot of changes in college football. Greg Sankey talked about a lot of them yesterday, including the future of the SEC championship game. We'll play what Greg had to say in that regard coming up next year on the early game.
Mom and Dad just gave us permission to give away free HVAC systems, and I have this crazy idea.
Hi, I'm Roy.
I'm Joey.
And I'm Jason. You heard us right. We're giving away multiple free units. If you believe you have the oldest HVAC system in the Midlands,
Scan the QR code or visit the website below.
Do you see this room? During the week, it's the place that keeps me calm. I'm usually on the go Monday through Friday, and by the time I get home, I need a place to relax. But on weekends, instead of my sunroom, I just call it my son's room. A lot of love goes in an Architect sunroom. Call Architect of Central South Carolina today and schedule a free consultation with one of our personal design consultants.
At Atkins Law, we help injured workers and their families. People always ask, what sets us apart? We're local and we focus on customer service. If you've been hurt on the job, call us because who you hire matters.
I'm Chip from Palmetto Citizens. I help people safeguard their futures with retirement accounts. I'm also our head of going the extra mile. They say when your job's your passion, you never work a day in your life. Have a great day.
SEC Media Days, sponsored in part by Wesco Brew and Bowl in West Columbia, in the heart of Casey. Bowling lanes, arcade games, also a full-service restaurant and 2 bars. Open Sunday through Thursday till 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday till midnight.
It is SEC Media Days, and we will be talking about the coaches that are talking. We'll be talking about the players that are talking. It's going to be a lot of talking going on. And yesterday, we can't forget that Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, kicked off all the podium festivities yesterday. And, of course, he covers a variety of different things, right? The future of college football playoff, all these sort of things. And with all the changes in the sport, too, especially when it comes to potentially an expanded college football playoff field, one thing that might be a casualty of that is the SEC championship game. And thankfully, Greg Sankey addressed the SEC championship game and the future of it yesterday during his opening statements. Here's what Greg Sankey had.
I'd have to go back and figure out the number of years we did it on our own. Conference championship games were initiated, so making our own decision. I was going to guess 4. That's okay, and in fact, the majority didn't flip in our direction for probably about a decade. I think even the move to 12 has created pressure around championship games, and we've talked through the factors that support the pro list, and we've talked about some of the con list, the negative. And we have some time. We will have a conference championship game first Saturday in December of 2026. We have contracts and plans in place well beyond that, but we have time for consideration. And one of the factors for us is what will happen with that college football game.
Now, in that regard, he made it seem like this is going to be contingent on the college football playoff. But I think the one part in there, Preston Thorne, that's the most important, the television contracts. And that's what a lot of this is about, right? When we're talking dollars and cents in college football, a lot of it has to do with the television contracts. And the one thing that is one of the more entertainment and TV, lucrative games of the year is going to be the SEC championship game. And if I'm trying to read between tea leaves there, Preston Thorne, even if the college football playoff changes and expands, this league is going to try its best to hold on to that game for as long as possible because that is a TV window that has been exclusively theirs since 1990.
The way I read it, similar to you, is if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And when it don't make sense, we won't do it anymore. Because as long as this contract is paying us a lot of money, we'll keep this thing rolling. If there's a higher upside to not having it and investing all of our time and energy into the CFP, then that's what we'll do. So if it makes dollars, it makes sense.
And this is such a competitive thing here, too, because the conference championship game doesn't mean the same in the Big Ten. The conference championship game in the Big Ten Conference is maybe one of the newer ones in terms of the power leagues, right? And you heard him at the beginning that kind of addressed the first part of the question where somebody says, will you continue doing an SEC championship game if other conferences don't do it? And, of course, Greg gives you a little history lesson. He said, we did that for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
We invented this. Shout out Roy Kramer and helped invent this entire event. And other conferences eventually started to follow suit. I think the Big 12 was maybe the first one to do it after them because the Big 12 title game is pretty old too. But they wouldn't be afraid to be the only ones doing it. I think one of the reasons why they wouldn't, even if it might impact the CFP, is because it is an exclusive television window that gets a lot of viewership, right? The Big 10 championship is going to get viewership. The Big 12 is going to get viewership. Even the ACC championship game is going to get viewership, but not the same as the SEC because this has more cultural significance. This specific conference championship game is because of how long it has been a thing. And I think this league and Greg Sankey specifically are going to try to hold on to that till the very end. And the day they stop doing this is the day that you'll know that there is significantly more money into not having to do it, right? Or into trying to create an environment more conducive for more playoff teams.
Exactly.
I think they're going to hold on for a while.
Exactly. But as you stated, as long as they're the last one standing, then the game's going to mean even more. So as long as they can hold out or based on tradition, still obviously making money, fulfilling all the contracts, the teams will have something that they can hold on to because the championship game will mean more as the bowl games mean less. And so they'll have something that they can still hold on to even if they're not winning the national championship.
And that's kind of my thing with the SEC title game, too. One of the reasons why I still love it so much, even with a 12-team playoff field, even if both participants are guaranteed to be playing in the college football playoff. The last 2 years with Texas and Alabama, if you went into those locker rooms after they got beat by Georgia, You think it'd be a consolation prize for those players, those coaches say, "Hey, this doesn't matter. The college football playoffs coming up later
Right.
this month." No, they're not gonna buy that. And they don't even really care. I don't think they even really care about, getting an extra week's rest or a bye week or anything like that. They want to win the SEC championship game. I think that's one thing that still kind of preserves the soul of what this league has been about. And even from just a non-financial standpoint, if you can hold on to this as long as possible, I really hope this league can. I think they will, but I'm really hoping they can too. It's hope and belief really at the same time. Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 coming up next. South Carolina and Vanderbilt, the back half of SEC Media Days. We'll talk about hierarchy in this league next.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. I've talked about the kitchen that was demolished due to a flood, had to gut it and start fresh. And CHW Cabinetry kind of became our best friends for a while as we tried to navigate that whole project, but they made it so much easier. We love the way the kitchen looks now and had such a great experience that when it came time to updating a couple of bathrooms, there was only one call to make, and that was CHW Cabinetry. You can visit them at chwcabinetry.com to see what all they can do to support you in making updates. There might be something in your pantry, putting drawers in. It's such a simple and easy way to make things a little bit more organized. Maybe your closet, you're just tired of the way it is, not quite as functional, want that to be better. They can help you out with that as well. Just be sure to give them a call, 803-520-6837. Tell them Jen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, locally owned in Lexington. Passion from inspiration to installation. Earlier accidents have been cleared, none to speak of currently, no significant slowdowns as well. A couple more days of really warm weather, and then it cools down, but the rain comes in as well. So 96 today, 95 tomorrow, drops about 80 for a few days on Thursday and Friday with thunderstorm activity. Right now, though, it is 76 and clear.
Hour number 2 of the early game, live from SEC Media Days here at the JW Marriott in beautiful Tampa, Florida. Right now, I'm live. He's pressing forward. He's been tense. And it is South Carolina Day here at SEC Media Days. And South Carolina and Vanderbilt are going to be in the second half of the day, kind of the same way that Tennessee and Kentucky were yesterday. What I want to do here, Florida, is kind of group Vanderbilt and South Carolina together. Now, they're not playing each other this year for the first time in many years. Long time.
That's funny because it's like we took our ball and went home. They beat us for the first time in 15 years, and we're like, that's it. We're not playing again ever.
Yeah, no more. This ain't fun anymore. I don't want to play.
Or the flip side, Vandy finally beat us, and they said, "No, when we can't get it back, we're champions forever."
It's like playing Madden, like with a friend or whatever. Like one of the friends is winning every single game, and the minute somebody like one on the other, nope, not playing anymore. Heading on a win. I'm retiring.
It's over.
Done. Finito. It's over.
Shout out.
That's kind of what it felt like. Kind of what it felt like there, after the 31-7 butt whipping that happened at Willie B last year. But last year was completely different for both of these programs, right? I think going into last year, you could compare the South Carolina and Vanderbilt programs. If we were sitting back in Atlanta back in 2025 at this very same time, you wouldn't even really compare the programs between South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt have always just been there, right? It's the one school that is not the most popular program in their own town, right? But now it's a little different. It's amazing what 1 year can do, right? Vanderbilt wins 10 games. South Carolina wins 4. Vanderbilt breaks that long streak, goes to South Carolina and wins. So if we're comparing these two programs, Preston Thorne, do we think that Vanderbilt, even after just 1 year, has surpassed South Carolina in terms of program trajectory?
No, I think that's foolish to think. Obviously, last year was a banner year for them, but they had a generational type of player. Every fit, and they built up to the moment. Even the year before, going 7-6, building up to that 10-win year. I need to see that they can get to that 7-win benchmark again for us to even start having those types of conversations. I do like Clark Lee. I think he's an excellent coach. I think he's an excellent person for that program, but I don't feel like they're in the same category.
Yeah, I would still. To me, it's for Vanderbilt. It's a program year, right? Last year was like the peak year, but I want to see what you are as a program, which means following up what they did last season. And South Carolina's had their own consistency stuff to deal with, but if you just look at the records from the last 10 years and look at everything surrounding that, 1 year does not a program make. So that's why this year is massive for Vanderbilt. Now, they are recruiting a lot better than they have historically. I mean, they got the number 1 player in the country who's going to be starting quarterback for them this year. That was originally a Georgia commit. I didn't think that's a sentence that would ever leave my mouth when it comes to talking about Vanderbilt football, but that's what having a 10-win season will do for you, right? Having a transcendent star like Diego Pavia was, a guy who, as the quarterback at Vanderbilt, finished second in Heisman voting. I think it makes you think about Vanderbilt maybe a little differently, but that doesn't really change for the long term unless you can prove this year that you can push that momentum forward a little.
You got to be able to push it forward. Very similar to, I always make this analogy, but it's like bowling, right? You bowl, you get a strike on one thing, on one, now you got to pick up the spare, right? You got to figure out how does that work because it adds on to the sporting of it. That's why last year was so defeating for us as a fan base as South Carolina fans because we had the momentum coming off the 9-win season. Everything is going in the right direction, and then we laid an egg. And so I'm wondering if Vanderbilt's going to get a piece of that this year because they're coming off of heights they've never seen before, and now that they have to go back to just being Vanderbilt. That, to me, that is the question that they have to answer this year.
And that's what good programs do, right? Your best programs are the ones that don't rebuild, they reload, right? And even in some good programs still will have ebbs and flows. And they'll have years where they will have to rebuild, especially when you lose a quarterback, right?
Right. But
is so important.
But what is the ebbs and flows? Like, is it going to be, okay, oh, this year we're not going to win 9 games, we're going to win 7. Okay. Oh, man. Or this year, we're not going to win 7 games, we're going to win 8, right? That's the ebbs and flows I would like to have. I don't like the idea of, oh, last year we won 9, next year we're going to win 3. I don't love that. That's not a very, I mean, it's that's fun for look, coaster, but that's not a very fun
Right.
fan experience.
And that's not a good program. That's one individual good team. And there's a difference between program and team, or program, if you will. There's a
Mhm.
difference between a good program and a good team.
Mhm.
Programs will be able to string those seasons together. They're constantly refilling holes for people that are leaving afterwards, right? Think about your Georgias, Alabama under Nick Saban, or even just like your longtime consistent programs, even Missouri, right? Like Missouri is not, they haven't really competed for national titles, but you know what they've been under Eli Drinkwitz? Consistent.
Mhm.
They've been good. They have some years where they're going to maybe push for 10 wins and maybe be a real player in the SEC. But even in the down years like last year, you could look at Missouri last year and say, yeah, not your best season in the Eli Drinkwitz era, and they still won 8 games.
And
I think
that
you would take that as a program in the SEC.
that's absolutely a goal for us in South Carolina fans, is that even in a necessarily a down year or a year that wasn't the greatest, we still can. I just have the number 7 circled on my paper right here, and I think that's a benchmark for maybe Vanderbilt and South Carolina. That if you get to 7 wins, you can consider the season a minor success. Everybody can be happy with it, and then anything above that is bonus, and you can work with
Oh,
that.
for sure.
That's where you want to. That's where you want to have that consistent. Every single year, you want to be in that category, but you don't want the ebbs and flows. Like I'm looking at Clark Lee's record. Obviously, he took over a pretty tough program, but they had the 7-6 year, 10-3, and that's to your point. This next year is going to be really important for the trajectory of Vanderbilt as a program, not just as a team that had a generational player come through.
And then now that we know that, if we want to get really sports talky, who needs 7 wins more, South Carolina or Vanderbilt?
Oh,
How do you like that one?
I like it.
How do you like that one?
I like it.
Get first takey.
And because of what you said earlier in the show, because you did mention earlier in the show that you look at every publication nationally, you see one name on this list of the hot boards. You don't see the other name. And the name that you see on the list is who?
Shane Beamer.
Shane Beamer. So therefore, by that logic, he needs 7 wins at least more than Clark Lee. If Clark Lee doesn't get 7 wins, nothing's going to happen at Vanderbilt. The fans will
Yeah, I think.
they'll be fine.
Oh, for sure. Well, and also because like their quarterback's so young too, they're going to get that guy for. You know, best case scenario, he's only there 3 years because he's so good he can take a jump to the NFL. You know, after his junior season. But I think both Shane Beamer needs 7 wins more than Clark Lee needs 7 wins. And South Carolina as a football program needs 7 wins more than Vanderbilt does as a football program. And I think the quarterback situation is kind of why. If we're putting that much stock in the quarterback position and we're, you know, kind of judging college football seasons as windows, kind of like what we do in pro sports, South Carolina's window is a little more closer to closing because this is expected to be Lenora Sellers' last season as the starting quarterback at South Carolina. And he is the most physically gifted quarterback our program has ever seen. From a physical, gifts, and athletic perspective, he is very rare for you. And you've got to take advantage of the window where you have a quarterback like that. And if you're Vanderbilt, you had your once-in-a-lifetime quarterback, so you thought, until you recruited Jared Curtis. He's expected to be really good. And everything that I've heard from people that have watched him play more than I did when he was at National Christian, say that he's got the tools to be a really good quarterback. But like anybody in the Southeastern Conference, if you're starting as a true freshman, you're going to take some lumps. You're going to learn some lessons the hard way. You still need to get some of that high school stupid coached out of you. That window is still going to be open and available to them after this year. So as much as a sports talk question as that may be, I find that one may be the easiest one to answer. And a lot of it is based on coaching, you know, pressure window and quarterback.
Right, because as even and here's the other part about that Vanderbilt conversation. Even if Jared Curtis is a 5-star guy, even if he has all the tools, even if he makes all the throws, he will not be Diego Pavia because that dude was special. No. He was a unique college football talent. I'm talking about college football. I'm not talking about at any next level or anything else. But in that moment, in that offense, he was the person that was needed. Very similar to some of the things we saw with Lenoris in 2024. The question is, like you said, with us having this opportunity to have this once-in-a-lifetime type of quarterback in the Garnet and Black, can we take advantage of it, or will we waste it? We wasted 1 year. We wasted 1 year by putting in an incompetent offensive coordinator, by not having an offensive line that could block and provide protection for him. This year is a referendum on not only Shane, but it's also a referendum on Kendall. It's a referendum on Coach Clem, everybody, because Kendall Browse has been fine. He's never had this type of quarterback. KJ was cool. Josh Hoover was fine. He's never had this type of firepower at quarterback. So everybody is facing a moment that they've never been in before.
I think that's what makes South Carolina one of the most intriguing teams that's going to be walking through this ballroom, right? I think that's what makes them so much more interesting than maybe some of your other teams of interest in the league. You know, you'll have better teams that walk through here, but maybe they don't have the same storyline and intrigue that South Carolina is. They're in a interesting spot because this is a window season, right? I mean, you've built a lot of your recruiting over the last 4 years to get to this moment or have a roster like this, right? A 5-star edge rusher, 5-star wide receiver, a quarterback that was underrated coming out of high school in terms of what his skill set and athleticism is. This is the time to really cash in and take advantage of it. And there's more pressure to do so this year for a program like South Carolina than maybe there would be at any of the other programs that you would consider in South Carolina's quote-unquote neighborhood. We'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone line. Joe is on the line with us this morning. Good morning, Joe. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, fellas. I hope everybody's doing good this morning. So listen, man, I'm looking at the schedule, right? Hear me out for a second. I'm looking at the schedule. The first 3 games, cakewalk, guys. I just don't see us trouble with these first 3 teams. All right. Now, history shows how many freshmen have beaten. I can't get my defensive coordinator's name. Clayton White. How many freshmen have beaten Clayton's defense?
Freshmen, not many.
Okay, not many. So with that being said, you guys, the last 2 times that we played Alabama, we gave them more trouble than the rest. We walked away with 2 wins. This is the year that we beat Alabama. They're not going to beat man. Even down in Tuscaloosa. As you would say, Elijah, Nick Saban is not walking through that door. Okay? He's not. All right. And so I look at Kentucky. It should be Kentucky. I mean, we should be Kentucky. We've been whipping it for the past few years. We should be Kentucky. Tennessee, another freshman quarterback. Freshmen do not do good against a Clayton White defense. Now, the Texas A&M and Georgia game could be a toss-up. The one thing about and we put up 31 points in the first half against Texas A&M last year, so we can score points on them. It's just a matter of can we do it again this year? And we play them at home. We have them at home this year, guys. I don't think we'll lose a game at home this year. I really don't. And when it comes to Georgia's defense, I don't know if you guys remember, but Nick Saban cried about what kind of offense a few years back. A spread offense that has an up-tempo. He hated an up-tempo offense. He hated it. And I think that Kirby Smart hates it just as much. I think they still yet run the 3-4 defense. I'm not sure. I don't follow the defense like that. But if they're still yet running that 3-4 defense, they still got those fat hog mollies up front that need a breather after they ran 5 or 6 plays in that up-tempo offense. The toss-up between Texas A&M and Georgia, I think we may lose one of those games. Florida, they have a new coach. Bringing in players that have to get acclimated with what he wants. I just don't see us losing to Florida, man. I don't. I still 2 games this year, guys. If that. 2 games at the most. 2 games, man.
I like it.
2 games.
Oh, this is great.
Don't make me put my glasses on.
And listen, all day long. We whooped them at home the last time we played in the other state. You know, they're not that team anymore, man.
Agreed.
They're not that team anymore. You don't see a bunch of 5 stars all over the place. And Brett Gilbert is not walking through that door. Tony Elliott is not walking through that door. They're not. We're going to go right back up there and whoop them again. 2 games at the most, guys. Mark it down. Joe said it now. 2 games at the most, man. 2 games at the most.
Oh, that's remarkable.
Joe's ready.
Like Give it up for Joe.
I'm so ready, man. Hey, listen. Have a great day. This is the best game shot, man. With 0-0, but I think we're gonna surprise a lot of people.
Oh, appreciate the call, Joe. Absolutely, I love that. We'll get to Joe's call too on the other side too. React to that a little bit. We also have the early game morning meeting. More drafts next. Joe's call was awesome. That's what Garnet Glasses stuff is all about. And if you have your Garnet glasses on, you might not be seeing some of the real world problems that you have ahead of you. And that might include some personal income and business tax issues. So when you take those Garnet glasses off, it can feel really abrupt. So you can find yourself in that pesky IRS maze. It's going to feel more like a labyrinth. But in order to help with that, you don't need more Garnet glasses. You need to call John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm, 803-771-9800. That's the number to call to get in touch with John and his team at the Ecton Law Firm and set up that free consultation and find out why the Ecton Law Firm has been solving personal income or business tax issues for people in the great state of South Carolina for decades. Find out about those proven local solutions that can get you out of one of life's toughest jams. 803-771-9800 is the number to call. You can always visit them at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com.
Mom and Dad just gave us permission to give away free HVAC systems, and I have this crazy idea.
Hi, I'm Roy. I'm Joey. And I'm Jason. You heard us right. We're giving away multiple free units. If you believe we have the oldest HVAC system in the Midlands,
And the QR code or visit the website below.
Do you see this room? During the week, it's the place that keeps me calm. I'm usually on the go Monday through Friday, and by the time I get home, I need a place to relax. But on weekends, instead of my sunroom, I just call it my son's room. A lot of love goes in an Architect sunroom. Call Architect of Central South Carolina today and schedule a free consultation with one of our personal design consultants.
At Atkins Law, we help injured workers and their families. People always ask what sets us apart. We're local and we focus on customer service. If you've been hurt on the job, call us because you hire matters.
I'm Pip from Palmetto Citizens. I help people safeguard their futures with retirement accounts. I'm also our head of going the extra mile. They say when your job's your passion, never work a day in your life. Have a great day.
SEC Media Days, sponsored in part by Wesco Brew and Bowl in West Columbia, in the heart of Casey. Bowling lanes, arcade games, also a full-service restaurant, and bars. Open Sunday through Thursday till 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday till midnight.
No accidents right now. Excellent news. A good way to start your Tuesday morning. It is going to be warm again for the next couple days. 96 today, 95 tomorrow. Heat index could hit over 100 for these next couple of days. But by Thursday, we do have a cooling trend coming in because we have some rain and thunderstorm activity. That will be Thursday and Friday. Saturday most likely. Highs anywhere between 80 and 83. Sunday, start getting back into the 90s and chance for some morning showers. Right now, though, we do have clear skies and it is 76.
It's South Carolina Day here at SEC Media Days.
SEC Media
our
Days,
SEC
sponsored
Media
in part
Days
by
fantasy
Wesco
draft
Brew
here.
and Bowl.
Teams that are involved, players since 2000, we get to include some Gamecocks. That's what we're doing for today's
Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Good morning, great day. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great day. Today will be an awesome day.
Now, when it comes to our drafts, yesterday we did the first one where we included the 4 teams that spoke yesterday, and Preston Thorne and I drafted 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and 1 defense using a pool of those teams from the year 2000 on, right? We'll do the same thing today. Teams that are speaking today, Georgia, Auburn, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. Now, Preston Thorne.
Stipulation is you can not have more than 1 player from a team, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. A reminder, you can only pick one school for the players. Now, because there's 5 technically positions here, the defense we've kind of designated as the free-for-all, right?
Yes.
It could be anybody. You can't have a repeat there. But no repeat schools in those 4 positions between quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end.
Now,
Yesterday,
Elijah,
Preston Thorne had the pick.
Elijah, I'm gonna be honest. When I looked at this list, when I started putting together my big board in the war room of draft stocks, when we was trying to put this together, I'll be very honest. South Carolina has a lot to pick from this list. There's a lot.
They have
Go
more than
ahead.
Auburn.
Yes.
They have more than Auburn.
Yes. I would say there's a couple. There's at every position you could go with the South Carolina guy and be at the top of the board. But obviously the rules say that I can't. So I did have the first pick yesterday. So you will get the first pick today. And I'm assuming if you don't pick this person first, I knew who I'm picking. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I even get to that, because it's going to be from this school, when it comes to wide receivers, if any of us pick an Auburn wide receiver, I'll be shocked because when I was doing some research yesterday, Preston Thorne, you want to know who Auburn's all-time leading receiver is?
I do not know.
His name is Terry Beasley. Do you
Okay.
want to know when Terry Beasley played college football, Preston Thorne?
Probably back when the name Terry was a popular name. So I would gander in the 80s.
He played from 1969 to 1971. That is Auburn's all-time leading receiver.
Shout out to Terry. Big time receiver in the 60s when they didn't throw the ball forward very often.
All it takes is 2,500 yards, and you could be Auburn's leading receiver. So don't expect either of us to pick an Auburn wide receiver. But I will pick first, and I will take an Auburn quarterback. Give me Cam Newton.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be the first pick. I said if he wasn't the first pick, he was definitely going to be the second pick. I'm going to go off the board a little bit here and be honest. I think South Carolina has the strongest contingent at the position, but they don't have the number 1. I'm going to go number 1. Give me Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers. Brock on. Yeah, that's it. Tight end, valuable. If you can get a really good one, and Brock Bowers is maybe the best SEC tight end, I think, and try not to be a prisoner of recent history here.
Now
you're not going to find one better.
Now taking Brock Bowers does really hurt me in some other spots because Georgia has a lot to offer, but I'm going to stick with Brock Bowers. One of the most dominant players I've seen, especially in recent years.
Brock Bowers, yeah, and that takes Georgia off your board, but that's fine. I'm going to take at running back one of the great Georgia. I'll take Todd Gurley at running back.
That was somebody that I definitely did consider.
Now think about it for Georgia too. All the running backs you've had: Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Sean Marino. It is a long list. You pick any of them, and you're going to be fine. But I think in their best season, I think I would take Todd Gurley over all of them. So Todd Gurley for my running back.
Now the thing about those Georgia running backs, I felt like they was all in the room at the same time. Probably everybody was there at the exact same time. Here's where I'm going to not swerve, but just for the sake of building my roster, give me Cadillac. Give me Cadillac Williams.
See, high on my running back board. Very high on the running back board.
I obviously I wanted to go with the home team, and we have several folks that we could take, but just for the sake of the rules, I do have to take somebody from Auburn. Give me Cadillac.
You know who really makes this difficult? Vanderbilt. Because I got to take advantage because they have been so unsuccessful in their history since 2000, with the exception of just the last couple of years. They make this a lot more difficult. But even then, I'll have to go dip into recent memory here. I will go to tight end, and that's where I'll use my Vanderbilt card here. Give me Eli Stowers.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I know you were huge on him last year, and he showed up last year. He was very solid. Okay, I have another choice here to make. Here. This is tough. I am also going to go with Vanderbilt Hill here, and I am going to go with Diego Pavia.
Not completely off my board. It was kind of like towards the bottom. Even obviously a great career at Vanderbilt. I mean, being number 2 in Heisman, pretty big deal. But pretty good in the statistical category. Very solid. Very solid. And this thing with these schools, also that means we left Matt Stafford and Aaron Murray off the board too.
Yeah, I couldn't take
our Georgia cards elsewhere.
Stetson Bennett was way higher on my board than maybe a lot of people have. I was a big time Stetson Bennett.
Now for wide receivers, I saved my South Carolina card for this one. Alshon Jeffrey.
Oh no, that's not how that was supposed to work. That's not how that was supposed to work.
It didn't come according to plan.
Oh no!
I steal Alshon Jeffrey right from under Preston.
We both saved both as a hint because South Carolina has several dudes who could get on this list. So you took Alshon, and I'm still your favorite Gamecock. Give me Sidney Rice.
You take Sidney Rice, and now really quick, your defense.
My defense. Give me the 2011 South Carolina Gamecocks.
Aha! Preston drafts himself. Not many times he can do that ever. Well, I will take the Georgia defense in that first championship.
Yeah,
2021.
2021. I had that one written down too.
Yep, I will take the 2021 Georgia defense. We'll recap our picks, and we'll continue to help find Preston his favorite NFL team. That's next year in the early game.
Preston here for our good friends at Integrated Media. The season is coming very quickly. You need to get your outdoor setup ready. What does an outdoor setup look like? Well, it can be Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, so you don't have to worry about any of the afternoon storm or anything like that. It can be Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. And this is why this is my personal favorite, because you can have all your devices running at the same time. You don't have to worry about any lag or any buffer. You can have your iPad, your laptop, your TV, phone, all of them could be running on the same Wi-Fi. You can be watching all the games, quad boxing, doing whatever you want to do. And the folks from Integrated Media can have you get that set up. From controlling your thermostat from your cell phone or monitoring security systems, Integrated Media is who you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmedia.com.
Still looking pretty good on the highways this morning. No accidents to report, no significant slowdowns either. And it's going to be warm. Couple more days in the 90s, 96 and 95 today and tomorrow. On Thursday, we start kind of a rain and thunderstorm pattern, and that will last several days starting on Thursday through about Sunday morning. Our highs will be in the low 80s, so a little bit different out there. But right now, we have some fair skies, and it is 75.
And before we recap our last draft, now remember our daily SEC Media Day fantasy drafts only include 4 teams that are speaking at the podium that day, and the field is limited to from 2000 on. So the modern game of college football. I've got some feedback here. Chad says no Connor Shaw. Thought about Connor Shaw. Really
I
did,
did.
but I wanted to go higher end at receiver. I wanted to pick the Carolina receiver. I tried to really strategize this out because Vanderbilt does make this a little bit trickier. You got to pick your spots where you pick your Vanderbilt player. Of course, the rule only one school represented for the 4 positions, right? So
I
I'd like to hear from you. 803-404-6100.
Yeah, I figured I could get budget Connor Shaw with Diego Pavia. So I got like the no frills Costco Connor Shaw with Diego Pavia.
Connor Shaw is great.
Kirkland's Connor Shaw.
So yeah, 803-404-6100, Firehouse Subs text line. What is your team? A quarterback, a running back, wide receiver, tight end from the 4 school states: Georgia, Auburn, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. Cannot have more than one school represented on that list. I'd like to see what everybody else would choose right there. For me, my quarterback is Cam Newton at Auburn, making the single greatest quarterbacking season of the history of the sport. Preston's quarterback by Diego Pavia, or as he called Connor Shaw. At running back, tough choice between Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown for Preston Thorne. He takes Cadillac Williams. I take Todd Gurley at Georgia. Wide receiver, I got Alshon Jeffrey from South Carolina. Preston's got Sidney Rice from South Carolina. At tight end, Preston's got Brock Bowers from Georgia. I took Eli Stowers, Bowers and Stowers combo at tight end from Vanderbilt last year. And then for our defense, which is a free-for-all, Preston drafts himself, a first-timer.
Correction. I would not draft myself. I would fire myself if I drafted myself. I drafted the 2011 South Carolina defense.
Oh, I said 2001.
No. That's grounds for firing you. 2001 was cool, but 2011, great.
I wrote down 2001. I'm an idiot. I'm foolish. I was like, oh, you know what? That's awesome. Preston gets to draft a team that he was on.
So much
Nobody else on
confidence
this
in
show has a
himself.
chance to do that. Yeah. Nobody else on this show has a chance to do that. Preston Thorne should have done it just because you can. Right?
That would be cool. That would be cool.
It would be cool. He takes 2011 South Carolina, very star-studded. And I'll take 2021 Georgia, that monster defense that just didn't give up yards to anybody. So those are our teams. Love to hear yours. Again, 803-404-6100, Firehouse Subs text line. Now when it comes to finding Preston's NFL team, right, we've got a bunch of criteria. Today's criteria, blitz rate. The higher the tier, the more aggressive these defenses are in the National Football League. What type of defense does Preston Thorne prefer? Now, reminder, I break up all 32 teams into 8 groups of 4 and tier them accordingly based off whatever the criteria is. So today's blitz rate, Preston Thorne, on a scale of 1 to 8, how much do you value a defense that is ultra aggressive and sending extra dudes to the quarterback.
I don't love it. Not my favorite thing. I do love a good bend but don't break defense. Any team that relies so heavily on the blitz is a little bit nerve wracking to me. I'm gonna go with a 5.
A 5. All right. So our teams in tier 5. Now this one's going to be pretty funny because there is an element of randomness here. Some teams blitz more because they don't have a dominant edge rusher. So you got to be able to send more guys, to the quarterback to create that pressure. Tier 5 is an interesting group though because what you have, Preston Thorne, is the New England Patriots.
Okay. Second time for them.
The New York Jets.
Oh no.
Jets. For the second straight day, the Carolina Panthers.
Uh-oh, Panthers making a run.
And the Washington Commanders.
First time for the Commanders, I believe, that they've shown up on this list.
That is correct. This is your first Commanders list, or first Commanders pick. And the Commanders are interesting. I can't guarantee they're going to actually contend to hoist the Lombardi, but they are quite interesting.
Because that was really fun 2 years ago, and then last year, not so much, and now we're trying to figure out what the quarterback situation is, correct?
Yes, or it just Jay Daniels' availability.
Right. Can he? Okay. Yeah. Unless the Jets show up multiple more times, I don't think that will happen. Unless I will play the game, but I don't expect them to show up multiple more times. The Panthers are interesting. I do believe they're trending upwards as far as the squad is concerned. The Patriots.
Do you want to do the NFC South thing again?
You know what? If I'm here to pick a winner, that is a division that is ripe for the taking.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can win that division at any time. I mean, in fact, I would argue that nobody wanted to win that division last year. So that is a division that's ripe for the taking. Now, the Patriots is really interesting because if I was to jump on the Patriots, would that be considered a bandwagon considering how far they went last year? I don't necessarily see them as AFC champs for some strange reason.
See, I wouldn't. Mostly, I think this whole exercise is in its own inherently bandwagonish.
Mm-hmm.
So that maybe not as much, but they did get the benefit of a few breaks, right? They got to play somebody in the AFC title game whose quarterback broke his ankle the week before, so they were playing Jarrett Stidham, right? That helped. Their defense was good enough to make C.J. Stroud look like a shell of him.
JD, DJ, first name basis type of dudes,
Uh-huh.
especially in the lower decile. So, I mean, that's why. And what's interesting is the obviously that was the if we're doing
days that it's not even funny. You are going to get your Gamecock football fill today, Preston Thorne.
I want to start to most serious, least serious storyline. I have a hunch that Peyton Williams is bow tie guy.
Oh, you're profiling Peyton Williams as bow tie guy. You know what? I would respect him even more.
I just have a hunch. You talk about the brain trust of the secondary, a guy who's been in the program for a while. He wears number 34. It just something about Peyton. I think it's the distinct possibility that he might be bow tie guy. I could be wrong, but watch out.
Oh, see, is he? Out of the three between him, Nick Harbor, and Lenore Sellers, most likely to be bow tie guy for sure.
Well, the thing is, I could also see Nick being bow tie guy because he's a little bit more flashy, a little bit more, he's a little bit more see and be seen. He could also be bow tie guy. I just want to know if somebody is going to wear a bow tie. We will see today. Haven't seen any videos yet. I'm waiting for South Carolina's social media team. We need some videos of them getting on the plane. We need some interviews. We need a Soulja Boy video. We need something. They shouldn't just be going to Tampa without eating us in the social media streets.
Oh, it's content heavy. That's what this week is for. The whole point, we call it SEC Media Days, but it should be just SEC Content Days because you get content for days, and that's part of the content that we're looking for. Who in this league is bow tie guy, right? Who's going to make my next, pick for Team Crush Tuesday next week? And bow tie guys might be part of that list.
Let's just see how this plays out. Let's see how this plays out today. But I'm currently refreshing X to make sure that I haven't missed anything, and I haven't seen anything yet.
Well, now let's ramp up the storyline scale a little bit. What is the next storyline slightly more serious than whether or not any of these guys are bow tie guys?
Well, I think it's about how does Norris handle himself he's been reluctantly the face of the program. He's been the best player on the team for 2 years, but he's reluctantly been the face of the program. He didn't necessarily embrace that role. We know he's not the most extroverted, loquacious guy, but
loquacious,
the word, right? But
senior English.
But here's the thing: he has to be that guy. You don't have a choice anymore, Lenoris. You don't get a chance to be who you were because you have to be somebody different. This team needs a different person from you. You don't have to step out of yourself. You don't have to be Diego Pavia. That's not what I'm asking. But you do need to take a more concentrated role in embracing the fact that you are the face of this team.
Yeah, and I think by now he's probably as comfortable as he'll be in that role. I'm interested to see today exactly how comfortable he feels being in that role too. Now that he is a seasoned veteran guy on this team, and when you look at South Carolina's season here coming up, the players you're going to need the most production for, it's going to be the guys that have been there the most. It's going to be your Nick Harbor, your the guys that are here. Nick Harbors, Peyton Williams. It's going to be Lenore Sellers, guys that have been part of the fabric of this program for the last 3 or 4 years. Even, Dylan Stewart's not here, but Dylan Stewart's going to be a big part of that too, right? I don't know if a lot of Gamecock fans, even your most optimistic ones, would foresee a really good season this year if you don't get the Dylan Stewart that you've seen, especially in 2024, right? If Dylan Stewart is not what he was the last couple of years, it's going to be hard to be optimistic and put the Garnet glasses on. Same thing said for Lenore Sellers and Nick Harbor. The stars that you have that have a lot of talent on this team that have been here for a while, you're going to have to really bank on. That's the way for a lot of college football teams. But if you look around the SEC, a lot of the teams that you talk about, like Tennessee, question mark is a potential freshman starting quarterback on that team. When we get to talking about Alabama later this week, one of the things that's going to be the major talking point of that team is who's playing quarterback, and is it going to be somebody being a first-time starter? Those are the type of questions that other teams are handling. Even Florida, I'm looking at a Florida banner across, from our table right now. Aaron Philo is going to be a first-time starter in this league, first-time starter as a college football quarterback for an entire season. You don't have those questions. So the pressure on your veteran players is going to be maybe more than it would be for other teams that are going to be taking part in this week's events.
Well, also the interesting part about this is that each one of those players that are brought to this, they're going to have to perform to levels that we haven't seen yet in order for the season to be successful. I think Nick is the perfect example of a paradox that we talk about here is the production versus potential. a lot of the conversation around Nick is still based on potential. It's still based on the fact that he's on the free list and the fact that he can run 1,000,000 miles per hour and he's 7 feet tall. But when we go to production, he hasn't produced to maybe match up with that level of hype. And so this is going to be a year where he has to get the level of production to match the level of hype around his potential.
I do like, I'm even writing that down right now. I do like the idea of referring to Nick Harbor's career so far as paradoxical in a way, right? Because we like to put these players in the potential category or the production category. And Nick Harbor, you can say it's like you mentioned out, like you laid out pretty well. It's still a lot of potential, but now the potential is even raised up because of his increase in production. You look at his entire career so far. He went from learning the position his first year here to having a slightly increased role, the numbers upticking, to last year. You still saw an uptick in production to the tune of being the team's second leading receiver. Him and Vandrevious Jacobs were the 1-2 combo, but you saw more explosive plays from him. You saw a little bit more of what you expected to see from Nick Harbor, but still not to the point that fulfills 5-star rating type, right? I mean, it is, I think, very admirable for him to be able to learn the position and over the course of 3 years get to having the season that he did last year. But now with an offensive coordinator that is going to try to find him the ball, a quarterback that he's got great connection with, great chemistry with, those numbers, while improved last year, just need to be better. But I think the reason a lot of Gamecock fans feel like he can get there is because of that gradual progression in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, he's moved up every single year. Last year he had the deep ball. Last year he added the yak as far as the think about the Texas A&M play. So there are things that he's added. But by the end of this season, if the early game in 2035 and some people are doing this show and they're doing a Gamecock draft, as of right now, it'd be a long time before you got to Nick Harbor as a wide receiver. There's still a lot of guys that we would pick. This is the season that needs to cement him in people's minds as one of the best Gamecock receivers, if that is part of his fate.
Because he is as physically gifted as any of the great wide receivers that have played. Yeah, more than
all of them. He's faster than all of them, maybe except Troy. He's taller than all of them, maybe except Alshon. Right? He has all of the combinations of physical traits. He just has to match the potential.
Does it kind of feel like you take some of the best wide receivers in Gamecock history just by physical attributes and add some of them together to pick the best ones, like take Troy Williamson's speed and mix it with Alshon Jeffrey's size and Sidney Rice's jump ball ability and all this type of stuff. Like you did one of those football Frankenstein monster type deals of the South Carolina Gamecock greats, and you're describing the ideal player or ideal production of a Nick Harbor.
Correct.
But the numbers haven't reflected that just yet. This is the year that he has to do with those. It's
I
going to be the
agree.
year he's got the most pressure on him in that regard just because of everything that we laid out. But in terms of being on the optimistic side of whether or not that happens, I find myself seeing a real strong possibility that he can. And I think the Kendall Briles effect, something I want to hear him talk about today, is what his relationship's been like with Kendall, what he thinks about the offense, and whether or not it can get that sort of thing out of him. Because my hypothesis, Preston Thorne, would be to say that it will.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair assessment to make because the system is going to be better, and I believe that the coach is more capable of putting him in positions for him to be successful.
Now, if we want to ramp it up to the serious storylines part, if we're going to make the gradual progression from least serious to Peyton Williams being bow tie guy to the most serious is going to be Shane Beamer and the job security, right? And I think everybody here, if you went to every single table here at DC Media Days and you asked them a question, which coach do you think is on the hottest seat in this league? I have a feeling Shane Beamer might be a runaway winner of that. In large part, because not just last season in South Carolina and the state of the program right now. I think in large part it's because there are a lot of new coaches in this league. We got 4 first-year head coaches in this league. Your other coaches in this league have pretty good job security. I don't think anybody's going to be mentioning Kirby Smart in that discussion by any means, right? No matter what happens in the college football playoff, they still run this league. I don't think anybody's going to say anything in regards to Steve Sarkisian. Now, he might have some pressure this year, but I can't imagine that he's on an actual real hot seat because do Texas fans remember what it was like, what life was like before Steve Sarkisian? You're old enough to remember. It's not that long ago when you were in Club Mid, right, or Motel Mid. You spent a lot of nights in Motel Mid for a long, long time. there are a lot of coaches up and down this league that you really can't put that same type of pressure on. Pete Golding's not going to be in the hot seat if they underperform a little bit this year. I think there'll be a watchful eye on him if they underperform. But you might get a consensus of Shane Beamer's maybe got the hottest seat. Can't even say that about Kalen DeBoer or Brent Venables. They just got done playing in the college football playoff last year, right? But I think that might be the case for Shane, and I'm really curious to know how he handles getting those type of questions because when it comes to the podium and the collection of SEC media, he's going to get that sort of question somewhere or another.
Yeah, and he should, and that'd be the first test of the season to see how he handles that. Whether he becomes defensive, whether he gets in his feels a little bit, or whether he recognizes the situation and understands people's idea. Now, I still want him to come out swinging, and I still want him to say, hey. I want him to kind of take that. I like what Will Stein said yesterday. Hey, if this place is going to be successful, it's going to be because of me. And because that's the type of confidence you want from the top of your leadership. It's not going to be for all of these other reasons. And Shane has to embrace that and understand that whether this team is successful or not starts with him.
Yeah, and the only way to make those questions go away is to get on a football field and start winning and start fulfilling some prophecy. I think last year left a bad taste, not just in the mouths of South Carolina Gamecock football fans, but other SEC media members, SEC football fans that were really intrigued with them last year, had high expectations for them for last year. Like, think about other teams in your life, Preston Thorne, that you were excited about, that you weren't necessarily a fan of, but you loved the roster build. That would have been maybe one of your Team Crush Tuesdays before a season started, and then they really let you down. You have a hard time banking on them to rebound the next season, right? Even if it is plausible, the last memory you're going to have of them is the season you had before. I think in order to prove a lot of that doubt wrong, all you got to do is go out there and start stealing some games against some of the best teams in this league and take advantage of some of the scheduling breaks that you have early on.
The only thing I can compare it to is when my favorite rapper Nas dropped the album Nostradamus, and it was so terrible. And it was just, I couldn't defend it to all my friends, and everybody was saying he fell off and he was lame, he was whack. And it was very difficult as of now stand to defend my favorite artist because he dropped this album, which was objectively very bad. So it was a flop of a year for the Gamecocks, but that's okay. They have another time to come back. Maybe this will be Shane's Stillmatic. He had to go back Nas had to go back to his roots and recreate something. So maybe Shane got to go back to his roots, make the Soulja Boy videos, do the things, go back to being who you are, Shane, and come back with some more dubs.
Because I guarantee you, in between Nostradamus and Stillmatic, you were not very excited for Stillmatic because of the last taste left in your mouth.
It was so tough. It was a tough time being a fan.
Oh man, I can imagine. There are a lot of music and football parallels. They exist all over the place. But coming up next, maybe comedy and football parallels can combine here at SEC Media Days. And one SEC coach yesterday really brought the house down, and we have a compilation here for you. Some of the best sound from this coach. We'll tell you who it is next year in the early game.
Preston here for Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom and pop values that you love. And he is determined to raise the standard of sales, service, and retail. That's right. Ben is an actual person who you can come in and see, and he'll get you all the help you need. And Cato's are proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has you covered with a huge selection of powerful tractors and all the gear that you can tackle any outdoor project. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's 803-254-3711.
I-20 eastbound near Monticello Road, the left lane is blocked, so you're staying right there at I-20 eastbound near Monticello Road, exit 68. Also, I-26 westbound just after exit 136, there is, disabled vehicles to the right lane currently blocked. Hermitage at Pisgah Church, an accident, also in Malfunction Junction on I-20 eastbound. There's an accident, and I-77 southbound at Carter's Ferry. So a few areas of slowdown. Gonna be warm today and tomorrow, 96, 95. The thunderstorm activity and cooler temps start on Thursday at 76 right now.
He knocked him dead yesterday, folks. He did it. He came, he saw, he made folks laugh. It's Eli Drinkwitz. And guess what? You don't have to hate watching this game. Missouri's not on South Carolina's schedule. Maybe this summer you can enjoy some of the humor a little bit, because when it comes to at least being really entertaining in this setting, there might not be a better coach in this league, Preston Thorne, than Eli.
Eli had a tight 5 yesterday.
Oh, he killed it. He killed it. And I made sure to note all the funny stuff and made sure to get all of it. Starting off with this will be cut 32, Jen. This is Eli Drinkwitz having trouble reading his own handwriting yesterday.
Now let's talk a little bit about Mizzou football. You know, our team is a combination of I'm trying to read my own shit strategy that I wrote last night. It's not, the math ain't math here. No, our football team is a combination of player development and talent acquisition.
Remarkable. It reminds me of that scene in Dodgeball where Patrick O'Houlihan's trying to tell you about the 5 Ds of dodgeball: dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
Well, as a chicken scratcher myself, I can understand. Sometimes you look at it and like, who wrote that? Oh yeah, it was me.
Oh, you've seen my notepad, brother. It's a miracle I can read anything on this. And you know what? If anybody else, if I was writing notes for another host, they would not be able to read any of them.
And definitely if they looked at it, they definitely wouldn't understand what I was trying to convey. For sure.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to write in shorthand. Yeah, easier said than done. Even some of the jokes that he did throughout yesterday maybe didn't necessarily land. This is Eli Drinkwitz making a save act joke yesterday.
Yeah, it probably depends if the Cruz can't will Bill gets past and they make us play regional rivalries. Nobody laughed at that.
Too much nuance in that joke going over everybody's heads.
Very difficult to make a joke about something that nobody understands anyway. nobody understands what the save act actually is, and so you make a joke about it like, we don't get it. We don't get it.
It only half lands, but you know what? I can always appreciate the attempt. Even when talking about Ahmad Hardy yesterday in his opening statement, talking about Ahmad learning a lesson from the incident of him getting shot over the off season and him having to miss some time, and he gave all the serious stuff about his timeline, return to football, and his recovery. Just in general, he did make sure to throw a jab at his player getting on a horse.
I'm not sure that his riding horses was part of the recovery protocol that his surgeon had in place. That John, he turned out on Hardy's trying to pro.
I'm laughing. Oh. I'm laughing. I don't know if I'm the audience, but I'm laughing.
It's one of those things too. Like it's not a stand-up bit, so people that are here aren't here to laugh. He dropped it in there, and I couldn't help it. I couldn't help a little chuckle. Like he went from being like it's going to be great, to see him out there playing, and I don't know if getting on a horse and riding is part of his surgeon's plan.
I can just imagine how that happened was that Eli was scrolling social media like we all do, and he saw Ahmad Hardy on IG riding a horse. He's like, "What? What are you doing?"
It's probably the same reaction I'm sure John Harbaugh had when he watched Cam Scatterby do a backflip on a stage and totally eat it. Not even stick the landing. He probably saw that and said, "You gotta be kidding me,
you idiot!
We just got done surgically putting your bone back together in your foot or your leg, and to prove you're fine, you want to do a backflip on a stage and then not stick the landing."
Oh, yeah.
You know what's bad, Preston Thorne? I watched that video and I couldn't help but laugh. I was chuckling. I almost tears out of my eyes. I watched it like 40 times.
That's the only reaction you could have. It would be funny without context, and then if you understand who Cam is as a person, it's perfect.
Yeah, all the context together makes it even funnier. But this is also Eli Drinkwitz yesterday making fun of one of his players' attire at Media Days.
Our three players that we brought with us today are a great combination of that. You got Nick Rodriguez and Jamal Roberts, who have been with us since their high school commitments. Nick Rod, although he needs to button that top two shirts, that was too much chest hair hanging out for me, but that's his style. You know, he's Argentina. He also guys even showed up today with that loss they took to the World Cup, but he's managing to face that adversity.
Making fun of the amount of taco meat he's showing.
Very good.
Throwing jabs at Argentina, losing in the World Cup final. The man had it all in that one clip right there. I mean, that was maybe the best ribbing of one of your own players we will see from a coach in this entire event, Preston Thorne.
Very solid. Again, that coach feels as if he's loose, he's lucid, he's ready to go. He doesn't feel uptight at all. I like the direction that coach is going in.
Oh, man. And now we learned from that clip right there, Eli Drinkwitz, not multiple buttons off the shirt guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have pictured him as that guy either. I wouldn't have pictured him as chain guy either.
Nope. And if you're watching on the YouTube stream, I've got like 2 buttons down. I've got the chain on. Eli Drinkwitz would give me the same review that he gave Rodriguez yesterday.
Yeah, I could imagine Eli just looking at Nick like, what are you doing?
Oh, and then the last one. Lastly here, Eli Drinkwitz has a very interesting mnemonic device to remember the names of one of his wide receivers.
And freshman in Kendrick Lanier. I remember his name because it's not Kendrick Lamar, it's Kendrick Lanier.
In one press conference, Preston Thorne, we had a Kendrick Lamar reference. We had a John Wayne reference. Talked about one of his football players showing a little too much taco meat, walking around this place. There was a save act joke. He couldn't even read his own handwriting at times. Not to sound like Stefan from Saturday Night Live, but this presser had everything.
Crushed. I give it 2 thumbs up. That's what I want. At least give me something worth entertaining. We know Eli. He's been around the league for a long time, so we understand him. Give me something. That's what and again, listen, I just need some life. I need some life from Shane today. I need some life. That's all I want is some life. Whether it's through jokes, anecdotes, whatever the case is, need some life out of him.
Absolutely. And you know what? Maybe one of the reasons why Missouri was Team Fresh Tuesday this week, not just because of an offense that should still score a lot of points, that loves to just run outside zone and have 90 explosive plays on a season, and not just because the defense might be non-existent because they lost every single starter from last year, so their games are probably going to be north of 80 total points every single time, but because you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that guy speak yesterday. All that combined, Preston Thorne, was a perfect Team Fresh Tuesday storm.
It makes perfect sense because as I'm looking at the list today, we know what Clark Lee's bringing to the table. We know what Georgia's bringing. We know what Kirby's got. Kirby might give you a little zinger every now and then. Alex Golesh is going to be nervous. And so it's all on Shane to bring the heat today.
I will say, I am watching Alex Golesh walking around here, and there are a lot of smiles, I will say.
Yeah,
but he's got the coffee in his hand.
He's still got to get on that podium. He's going to be like, oh, man, this ain't Conference USA anymore. America Conference.
Yeah. This is it's a little different. It's one thing to be sitting, with us here on Radio Row at different radio stations. It's another thing when you're seeing a bunch of people staring at their laptops and you don't know if people are actually listening or not. much different public speaking environment. But coming up next, though, the other teams speaking at SEC Media Days. We'll get into Georgia, Auburn, Vanderbilt next.
And freshman in Kendrick Lanier. I remember his name because it's not Kendrick Lamar, it's Kendrick Lanier.
All right, guys, maybe you're feeling like you lost your edge. Maybe you're struggling to focus, brain fog. You're not able to accomplish tasks the way you want to. Well, maybe it's time for you to call Dr. Dan Boltnight at the Men's Clinic. Dr. Dan Boltnight is a respected local physician. He'll get to the bottom of whatever it is that you're feeling. This isn't some nameless, faceless online portal that you send your information to, and then it AIs the information back to you. This is an actual person who will talk with you, who will listen to you, who will deal with the actual symptoms that you're having. How will he get to those symptoms? Well, you come in, you get your initial consultation with Dr. Boatnight, and get your T-level check for absolutely free. Men's Clinic, you'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment where your concerns are welcome. So don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can visit them online at mensclinicsc.com.
We have stop and go traffic I-20 eastbound between Bush River Road and Monticello Road. And that would be because of an accident there at I-20 eastbound at Monticello Road. Also an accident I-20 westbound at North Main, I-77 southbound at Garners Ferry Road, I-20 eastbound at I-26, Hermitage Road at Pisgah Church, also an accident there. And the forecast, a couple days of 90 for Maine, 96, 95 today and tomorrow. We hit 80 for Thursday and Friday, but we do have thunderstorms we're expecting at this part of the day, both of those days. Right now, sunny, 76.
That's right. We are at SEC Media Days here in Tampa, Florida, at the JW Marriott. And it's not just South Carolina Day. Now, South Carolina is speaking today. You'll hear from Shane Beamer. You'll hear from Horace Miller. You'll hear from Nick Harbor. You'll hear from Pete Williams. But you'll also hear from other teams, too. Of course, shout out to our sponsor who allows us to be here. Just a few right now. Atkins Law, SB Lumber, and Louisiana Purchase. But Georgia speaking today, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. Now, Preston Thorne, there's a lot of intrigue with those three teams for a variety of different reasons. Three programs in three completely different places. We can start off with Georgia, too, because Georgia is still the king for this conference, right? You won the last two conference title games. You played in one the year before that. Should have won that one. But this is the gold standard of this league right now. And even last year, playing the league, and despite maybe not being as characteristically dominant on defense, right? Their secondary was vulnerable early. Tennessee hung 41 points on them. Could have beaten them in Tennessee, but that kicker was scared to death and missed that kick before overtime. Georgia got out of Neyland Stadium alive. They're able to run through the conference like they normally do. They get to Atlanta. They run over Alabama and avenge that one loss they had from earlier in the season, but they only had like 20 sacks. They had a turnover margin of 0. Meaning they committed as many turnovers last season as they forced on defense. Uncharacteristic for Georgia. And you know what? An uncharacteristic season for them in some defensive statistical categories still resulted in becoming SEC champions.
Yeah, and as you indicated last year, Kirby talked about how the team was young and they were trying to grow into. So maybe in Georgia parlance, they were pups, they weren't dogs yet, and those guys are back. And as I stated earlier, one thing that Kirby is going to get right is going to be the defense. So watch out, world, because they will be better on defense this year, and they have a lot of the same playmakers coming back on offense.
And it's one of those things too. Like, yeah, they might have lost some of the NFL because they will do that every single year. As long as Kirby Smart is the head football coach at Georgia, Georgia is going to lose a few defensive players to the National Football League, right? They will be graduating onto the Shield. But what's so wild about this year's Georgia team, too, just sitting here at Media Days doing the thing we do in terms of previewing a season, you know how they replace a safety? They go to get one of Clemson's better ones in Khalil Barnes, where we are very familiar with Khalil Barnes' work when he was a defensive back over at Clemson, responsible for Clemson's only touchdown in the 2023 game at Williams-Brice Stadium, in which that was maybe the biggest snoozer of a game in the Carolina-Clemson rivalry anybody's ever remembered. You don't remember many plays from that game, but you probably remember Khalil Barnes scooping and scoring. That guy was there for a while. He's going to probably have his last year of eligibility there at Georgia. That's just what they do. That's just what the program is. And you know what? I expect them to start finishing more plays when it comes to pass rush, getting more sacks, causing more turnovers. Last year would have been a good year to get Georgia and keep them from winning this conference. I think the SEC is in a little bit of trouble in not doing so.
Yeah, because the baseline for them is winning the conference, and that is a great place program. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can take it to the next level, and I think it's going to be interesting to see whether or not their offense can get them to win at the next in the CFP, because they will win that conversation.
That's just the next thing, right? Like the last 2 years, they've won the SEC and they lost to Notre Dame, and a lot of that in 2024 was in large part because you're starting quarterback all season long. Needed Tommy John surgery or whatever it was after his injury against Alabama in the SEC title game. So then you had to throw Gunnar Stockton in the fire against a Marcus Freeman coach defense. Good luck, brother. I don't care how good you are. That's a tough task. And then last year, you got Trinidad Chambliss, right? You didn't get enough stops necessary to win that game. You got just enough stops to beat Ole Miss in Athens earlier that year. You didn't get the required number of stops to beat them in the Superdome, and that's 2 straight years of going one and done in the CFP. That's really Georgia's thing now is can you continue to advance and get back to where you're winning a national championship like the 2 that you've won earlier in this decade. When it comes to Auburn, Preston Thorne, though, a lot of intrigue because I find them to be one of the best guinea pigs in the SEC this year. You're taking a coach from South Florida. He basically brings his offense with him, right? Not just the offensive scheme. He's bringing the quarterback in Byron Brown. He's bringing a few receivers. He's bringing a few offensive linemen that are going to be slated to be starting in the trenches for Auburn. How does that work out in year one? Because we've gotten a lot of mixed results when it comes to coaches being able to bring players from lower levels to the upper level with them. There are some serious pros and cons, but we've seen a lot of mixed results. How does that work at a place like Auburn?
We'll see. Auburn's floundering. They tried to do something with the last hire that didn't necessarily work. They're trying something, another experiment with Alex Golesh. I'm really looking forward to him on the podium more than anybody else because I'm just trying to learn about who he is. He seems to be a business first type of guy, a straight laced dude, and the people in Auburn are crazy. And I wonder if he's going to be able to adapt to that level of craziness, which he hasn't had the experience before.
It's what makes that job so difficult too. Not only are they crazy and not only are they starved for winners, you have to compete in the same state as Alabama every year.
Mhm.
And yes, Alabama's not the terrifying juggernaut they were when Nick Saban's coaching. As Joe rightfully pointed out in the first hour of the show, Nick Saban ain't walking through that door. It's still, though, an Alabama team that went to the college football playoff last year. And Kalen DeBoer is still a really good coach. That's still your biggest competition just right down the road. It's a lot to be thrown into. It's a lot to have to be compared against. And the Auburn job in general, no matter what stage of college football you're in any timeline, is maybe the most interesting coaching job and dynamic in the Southeastern Conference. And Alex Golesh is tasked with pretty much trying to recreate the magic he had at South Florida, but he fit the seasons a little better. That was a South Florida team that I thought was more than talented enough to win that conference and get themselves in the college football playoff. Just missed out on it at the end of the season. And lastly, Vanderbilt too. It's a program season, not any type of season for Vanderbilt. It's a program type season because you have to prove that you can not just build on the success of a 10-win year last year, but prove that when you go back into your lulls, you have ebbs and flows of a college football program, that your lows aren't still 3-9, right? We're not too many years removed from Clark Lee going 2-10 at Vanderbilt the year before they picked up Diego Pavia. Can you prove that you can build on last season's success, maybe not by winning double-digit games, but by still being competitive enough that in a year with a starting quarterback that is a true freshman, you can still have a program around it that you can trust enough to be able to be successful?
Yeah, can they keep this thing hot enough to where we just don't say, "Oh yeah, that's the old Vandy"? They're just Vandy, right? It takes maybe a couple years in a row before people start saying, "No, we got to start taking Vanderbilt serious." Until they can maybe put together 2 to 3 solid years in a row, which they won 7, they won 10. Another 7-win season will have them in that category where people will start to take Vandy seriously.
To the point where if we're doing the 7-win game,
Mhm.
what would 7 wins do more for? You could say a 7-win season would do a lot more for Vanderbilt than it would South Carolina.
Which
because
is
that message that it proves.
Absolutely. It puts South Carolina in a tough spot because they have to win 7 games to keep Shane viable, but also 7 games doesn't necessarily satisfy the bloodthirst.
And for Vanderbilt fans, if you win 7 games, they're saying, oh, in a rebuild year, we still win 7 games? We're good. That'd be a winner of a situation for Vanderbilt if they were to pull that off. We'll give you our winners for today's show, however, brought to you by the Golden Spur next.
Cannot win with them. Cannot coach with them. Can't do it. I want winners.
We got you, Coach. Every day we give you our Winners of the Day show, brought to you by the Golden Spur. And you know what, Preston Thorne? We hear coaches talk for hours here in this setting. And my favorite thing is tactful fibbing. So my winner of the day, a little bit of fibbing. Because, yes, Will Stein stole the show a little bit yesterday when he did the reason that I believe we can win big in Kentucky is because of me. But you know what no one's going to talk about, kind of just pushing to the rug, is the fibbing that went on yesterday.
Okay.
This is cut 40, Jen. Take a listen to what Will Stein had to say about their first game of the season.
There's still tons of work ahead, but that's when you really found out what you're made of. We have 47 days until we kick off against Youngstown State, 1 p.m. in front of the best fans in college football.
1 p.m. kickoff against a great opponent, Youngstown State, in front of the best fans in college football.
Sorry, that took my breath away for a second. I caught the hiccups when you said that. I couldn't figure out. Now, my question to you was which is the part? Which is the fib part? The Youngstown State part? Does he think Jim Truss was walking through that door, or the best fans part? Which part was it?
I don't know which one's worse. It's 2 and 1. It's a value deal. It's a fitting value deal, Preston Thorne. I can't tell you which one was more egregious in the lie between the two of them, but it's tactful, it's respectful, and I do dig it a little bit. But when he said that, I'm sitting next to Jordan Kay from the state newspaper, and we definitely both looked at each other after he said, preparing for a great opponent in Youngstown State.
Well, shout out to the Penguins, I believe.
They are the Penguins.
Shout out to the Penguins. Jim Tressel, them boys, Youngstown boys. Yeah. And there was a time when they were very good in Division I AA, if they give you a time frame. But I don't think that's a conversation that would even happen. But I'll stick with Will Stein here because we're talking about bow tie guys. And yesterday, he went with a classic print. He had on a paisley print tie yesterday. And I thought that was a very classy choice. So for all the fibbing that he did, he also wore a pretty standard classic tie.
He did. I think he impressed yesterday. But you know what would not have been a fib if he sat up there and was talking about Youngstown State? If he said, we're going to play an opponent that has the cutest logo in the history of college football. If you've never seen the Youngstown State logo, it's adorable. It's a penguin, and he's got a little toboggan on, and he's got a scarf, and he looks really cold, but really mean and really fierce, and it's adorable.
I know for a moment in time, and this is why this man is endlessly fascinating to me. I know for a moment in time, Jim Tressel was the president of Youngstown State, but I don't think he's that anymore. I believe he's on to like some other government office. That man is winner, Jim Tressel. What a dude, man! From head coach at 1AA to national champion to sticking up for his players against the NCAA to being the president of a university. I think he was the chancellor at one point. That dude is crazy, man. Jim Tressel, the man.
Administrative college dude, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Educational lifer.
Yes, my guy. I like some Tress now.
And if we were to talk about style in the sport of college football,
man. Come on now.
Scarlet sweater.
Come on,
buddy.
Man. Iconic.
Buddy.
Iconic.
It went hard. One of the classiest looking coaches in the history of college football. I don't think it's a debate, right? I mean, he's definitely up there.
I don't know if there's if he ain't stop two and he ain't two. I mean, come on, man. The glasses, the vest, the tie. Tress is the man.
Oh, this gave me the perfect avenue to give out a take I've always wanted to give out, Preston Thorne. You ready for this? Most overrated, fashionable coach in the history of college football is Paul Bear Bryant. You want to know why?
Ooh. Listen,
because Houndstooth is ugly.
Ooh.
Houndstooth is hideous.
Oh.
And I hate it. I hate it. I'm not just saying that as a kid who grew up in rural Tennessee. I hate the look of Houndstooth. I don't find it fashionable. I think it is ugly. It is ugly on a shirt. It is ugly on a jacket. It is ugly on a hat. I don't like it here. I don't like it there. I don't like it anywhere. Preston Thorne, Houndstooth is hideous, and I will take that take to my grave.
So Houndstooth not in your top 5 fashion prints.
You know what? Not even bottom 5 because it's not even getting a mention.
Oh my gosh!
I think it is that ugly. I'm an
Wow.
expert in ugly Preston Thorne. And I will tell you, houndstooth, not for anybody. No one pulls it off, not even the legendary head coach Paul Bear Bryant. Those are our winners for today's show, brought to you by the Golden Spur. We're still live at SEC Media Days, though. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri, they're up, and they're next.